Hello everyone and welcome to 30 Days of Java. It's day 25 now and today we'll discuss about annotations in Java. In this video, we'll discuss annotations and why we need them. Then we'll look at some of the inbuilt annotations that Java offers and also create our own custom annotation. So let's get started. An annotation in Java is a special form of syntactic metadata that can be added to Java code elements such as classes, methods, fields, parameters, and packages. Annotations do not directly affect the program semantics but can be processed by this compiler and runtime to influence the behavior of the program. In simple words, annotations are like special notes or tags that you can add to your code to give extra information. These notes can help the compiler, tools, or other programs understand how to handle your code better. Now let's quickly jump into IntelliJ to better understand them. Let's now first see some of the built-in annotation that Java already provides. So if you were following along with the course, you might have already seen some of them. So the first annotation that we'll be looking at is @function interface that is applied to interfaces only. Now this annotation restricts the interface from having multiple abstract methods. Whenever you apply this annotation on an interface, it can only have a single abstract method. If I try to create another abstract method, it throws a compile time error. Another built-in annotation that we can use is suppress warning. So for that, I'll simply create cat object. We'll name this cat as Mike with the age of 10. Now as you can see here that my program is giving me a warning that says variable cat is never used. Now to suppress this warning, I can simply use an annotation called @suppress warning, and then as a parameter I can pass in unused. As you can see, I'm not getting the warning anymore. So these are some of the built-in annotations that Java already provides in java.lang package. Now that we have seen how the built-in annotations look and work, let's try to create a custom annotation. So for that, I'll go to src and then click on new, then Java class, and here I'll select annotation. So I'll name this annotation as my class annotation. Now the syntax of an annotation looks very similar to a class. The only difference is instead of using the class keyword here after public, we'll be using @interface. As I've already mentioned that you can apply an annotation to different element of a code, whether it is a method or a class or a field or a parameter or even an annotation itself. So for making this annotation work, we need to apply two more annotations to this. The first annotation that we'll be using is @retention. Now with this annotation, we have to pass in a retention policy. So I'll type in retention policy, and then we have three options here: class, source, and runtime. Now in most of the cases, about 99% of them, you would be using the runtime option. So the difference between all of those options are, if you choose class, then the annotation would live in the compile time. After that, it would be removed. If you choose source, then the annotation would be removed before the compile time. So annotations like suppress warning comes under source. And then you have runtime. These are the annotations that would be used during runtime. So here we'll select runtime. And then we also need to provide the target of this annotation. So I'll type in @target. And then I'll need to pass in an element type dot. And since we are creating this annotation for our class, I'll type in type. And that's it. We are ready with our custom annotation. Now I can use this annotation on my cat class by simply typing in annotation. Now to see if this annotation is applied to this class, we can use an example. So if I go back to my first program.java and remove this suppress warning for now, now I already have a cat class object. So using Java's reflection, I can check if this cat class has an annotation applied with the name myClassAnnotation. So I can simply type in cat dot get class dot is annotation present and then pass in my class annotation dot class. Now if I wrap this around in an if block, remove this. Now if this class has an annotation called myClassAnnotation, then it would output annotation found. If it doesn't, then it would type in not found. So if I run this program, you can see it returned back annotation found in the console. But if I create an object for dog class, so if I simply type in and now use this dog object instead of cat and then run the same program, you can see it returned back not found. So this is how a class annotation works. Now we can also create annotation for methods or for data fields as well. So we'll do that now. We'll create another annotation and we'll name this as my method annotation. And now for this annotation, we'll use the same retention policy. And for target, we'll use it with methods. Element type dot method. Now if I use this annotation in my cat class, so in this cat class, I have a single method named makeSound, which simply prints out meow meow in the console. So if I apply it here in the method, it works without any issues. But if I use the same annotation with the class, it throws me a compile time error. If you hover over it, it says at the rate my method annotation not applicable to type. So let's remove this and change it back to my class annotation. Now with this annotation, I can also pass in some parameters. So for defining a parameter to this annotation, I can simply go to my annotation and then here I'll type in int and then value. Now one thing to remember is that whenever you're using parameters with an annotation, you need to define them with parentheses. So it looks like a method, but it is a data field. Now let's access this annotation and its values in our first program.java. So I'll go back. Now for accessing it, we need to loop over all the methods of that cat class and see which particular method has that particular annotation, that is my method annotation. So I'll create a for loop and I'll type in var method cat.getClass and then get declared methods. Now here I'll create an if statement. If method dot is annotation present, my method annotation.class. Now inside this if condition, we'll declare my method annotation equal to method dot get annotation, and then we'll pass the value my method annotation dot class. So this would return back the annotation that we are using with that particular method and its parameters with its values. So I can simply type in sout and then annotation found with the value annotation dot value. Now if I run this program, you can see it returned back annotation found and then 3. Now we can also create an annotation for a field by simply changing the target annotation. So instead of using element type dot method, we can pass in element type dot field, and then it would work with data fields of a class. Some of the things that you need to remember while defining the parameters for an annotation is that you need to use either primitive data types or a class or an array. So I can simply pass in an array here by using the square brackets, and then it would work as an array. But I can't use a class like cat. If I type in, it throws me a compile time error. Now the annotations that we have defined for these examples are very basic in nature. If you want to define annotations that are similar to @functional interface or @suppress warning, then you might need to follow different steps. Like you first need to define the custom annotation, then you need to create an annotation processor, which would include setting up Maven dependencies and processor implementation. And then you have to register that annotation processor. And finally, you can use that annotation. Creating a custom annotation of that caliber is out of the scope of this course. But if you want a separate video on that, you can let me know in the comment section below. As always, we'll end this video with a quote that says, "No great thing is created suddenly." Thank you for watching and have a great day.